Welcome! Today, we are diving into one of the most fundamental questions in all of business. How do you set a price? It sounds simple, right? But it's actually a battleground between two completely different philosophies. One starts from inside the company, meticulously counting up every last penny of cost. The other, well, it starts outside, in the real world, asking what you, the customer, are actually willing to pay. We're going to deconstruct this whole thing. Just so you know, the analysis we're about to walk through is pulled together from a whole range of business and academic sources. It's all about piecing together this really fascinating story for you. So, let's get right to it. Is pricing some kind of creative art form? A gut feeling about what the market wants? Or is it a cold, hard science driven by spreadsheets and formulas? The truth is, it's kind of both. And we're going to explore that tension by looking at these two totally opposite strategies. So here's our roadmap. First, we'll lay out the two basic philosophies. Then, we'll really dig into the classic cost-plus model. After that, we'll flip it and look at its more aggressive, modern rival, target costing. And then, this is the best part, we'll see how this choice affects everything in the real world, from billion-dollar fighter jets to your electricity bill. When it comes right down to it, this whole debate is about where you start. Do you start your thinking inside the four walls of your own company? Or do you start by looking outside at the messy, unpredictable marketplace? We call this the inside-out versus outside-in worldview. And this slide right here, this is the core of it all. Cost plus is a push. It says, hey world, this is what it cost me to make this thing, so here's the price I'm pushing out to you. But target costing, that's a pull. It says, okay world, this is the price you're willing to pay. Now how on earth do we pull our costs down to make that work? Let's dig into that traditional inside-out model first, cost plus. All right, let's start with cost plus. We're talking about the classic, the OG, the most intuitive way businesses have priced things for a long, long time. The logic is just so simple. Figure out what it costs and then add a little something for yourself. So the official definition is pretty much what you'd expect. You add up everything. I mean, everything. The raw materials, the labor, the factory electricity, the rents, all of it. Once you have that magic number, your total cost, you just tack on a markup, the plus, and bam, that's your price. It's an accountant's dream. And the math behind it? It is exactly as easy as it looks. You get your total cost, you multiply it by whatever profit margin you're aiming for, add that back to the cost, and there's your price tag. Let's make it real. Okay, let's say you're building beautiful handcrafted chairs. You figure out that the wood, the screws, your time, your workshop space, it all comes out to $80 per chair. You decide you want a nice clean 25% markup. Well, 25% of $80 is $20. You add that to your cost, and you slap a $100 price tag on that chair. It's simple, it's clean, and you are guaranteed to make $20 on every single one you sell. But here's the massive trade-off. On the one hand, it feels safe. It's easy to calculate, you're guaranteed to cover your costs, and when you have to raise prices, you can just point to your own rising costs. Super easy to justify. But the downsides? Man, they are huge. You're basically pricing your product with blinders on, completely ignoring what your competitors are doing or what customers actually think your product is worth. And maybe the most dangerous part? It can make a company fat and lazy. Seriously, if your profit is just a guaranteed percentage of your cost, why would you ever fight to reduce those costs? You just pass them along to the customer. Okay, now I want you to completely clear your mind because we're about to jump into a totally different reality. If cost plus is a defensive game meant to protect your costs, target costing is pure offense. It's designed to go out and win a market. It flips the entire question on its head. It stops asking, what should our price be, and starts asking, what must our cost be? See, target costing isn't some little pricing trick. No, it's a full-on management philosophy. Look at those keywords. It integrates everything: design, price, profit, and cost, from the absolute first day, from the first sketch on a napkin. Cost isn't what you figure out at the end. Cost is a design goal, just as important as the product's color or its features. The process here is just incredibly disciplined. Step 1. You go out and you figure out what the market is actually willing to pay for a product with certain features. Let's say it's $140. Step 2, the bosses decide on the profit margin the company absolutely needs to hit. Let's say it's a steep 60%. Step 3 is just simple math, subtracting profit from price. And step 4, well, that's where the real work begins. You take that final number, your target cost, you hand it to your engineers and you say, build it for this much, period. And here's the brutal part. If you can't hit that number, the product might not get made at all. And this is that complete 180-degree flip I was talking about. With Cost Plus, the selling price was the answer to the equation. With target costing, the cost is the answer. The market price and the profit you need, those are non-negotiable. They're locked in. Your cost is the only thing that can change, and you have to solve for it with pure innovation and efficiency. Let's use that Nike example from the source material. Okay, market research says the hot new running shoe can sell for $140. Nike's management, looking out for its investors, demands a 60% margin. That's $84 in profit per shoe. So you take 140, you subtract 84, and you're left with a target cost of $56. That $56 becomes the law. It dictates every single choice from then on. What materials they use, how the shoe is stitched, where it's made. Everything is engineered backwards from that $56 target. So you might be wondering how in a world they actually hit a number that tight. Well, they have a whole toolbox of special techniques. There's value engineering, which ruthlessly asks, is the customer actually willing to pay for this little feature? No? Then it's gone. There's design for manufacturing, which is all about making the product simpler to put together from the get-go. And there's life cycle costing, which looks at the total cost of ownership, from R&D all the way to recycling. The goal for all of them is the same. You design the cost out of the product before it ever gets a chance to creep in. Okay, so we've got our two opposing models. One is the safe, inside-out approach. The other is the aggressive, outside-in attack. Now, let's look at what happens when these philosophies are put to the test in the real world. Because believe me, the stakes get incredibly high. This table just lays it all out so clearly. It's a total difference in mindset. In the cost-plus world, price and profit are just whatever happens at the end of the calculation. The real incentive is to just pass your costs on to someone else. But in the target costing world, price and profit are the starting point. They're fixed. So the only incentive, the only game to play is a relentless, unending war on your own costs. Now let's see some more stories. First up, let's look at the US defense industry. This is a classic cost-plus world. And for a reason, right? When you're trying to build something that's never been built before, like a next-generation fighter jet, nobody really knows what the final cost will be. So the government often uses contracts that say, look, we'll cover all your legitimate costs, and we'll give you a guaranteed fee on top. It's supposed to encourage companies to take on huge, risky projects. But here's the paradox. According to critics in the source material, this model can create a really messed up incentive. This quote calls it a boondoggle. Just think about it for a second. If your profit is guaranteed and you get paid back for every dollar you spend, what's your motivation to be efficient? You could argue it actually rewards inefficiency. The more you spend, the bigger the project looks, and your fee might even be tied to that total size. We see a really similar problem with a lot of public utilities. The system is often called cost of service regulation. Basically, the utility company's profit is a legally guaranteed percentage of how much money they've invested in stuff: power plants, poles, wires. This creates this bizarre incentive for what their critics call capital bloat. Why? Because the more they spend on big, expensive projects, the bigger their investment base gets and the more profit they're legally allowed to make. See the problem here? And the data from the source material is just wow. It shows that between 2020 and 2023, rates for these investor-owned utilities went up 49% faster than the rate of inflation. At the exact same time, rates for publicly owned utilities, the ones that don't have that same profit structure, actually went up 44% slower than inflation. That's not just a number on a chart. That is real money coming out of people's pockets, all because of the pricing philosophy being used. But now for the ultimate counterpoint: Toyota. These guys are the absolute masters of target costing. They even have their own name for it: Genka Kyaku. Their big aha moment came decades ago when they realized that a staggering 80% of a car's cost is locked in during the design phase. So they said, forget trying to cut costs on the factory floor, we have to manage costs before it even exists. This wasn't just a new rule in the accounting department, it was a total cultural revolution that took decades to perfect and spread through their entire supply chain. And the result? A global manufacturing juggernaut built on relentless design inefficiency. So, after all that, which way is better? Well, as you've seen, there's no easy answer. The choice a company makes really says everything about what it values. Is your main goal to guarantee a profit on every single thing you sell? Or is your goal to guarantee that you have a product the market actually wants to buy? One protects your bottom line today, the other is a fight to win the future. And that is the fundamental choice behind every single price tag you see.